In preparing for the show today, I read an interesting article from Elias Schuster saying that the Bulls don't realize that they're in a rebuild yet. And I thought, yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about that. Plus, we're going to dive into the mailbag, all that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today. And I want to give a lot of credit over to Elias Schuster over on Bleacher Nation, who wrote an article that was titled, "The Bulls Still Don't Know They're in a Rebuild." And, you know, it's funny when you look at that because there is definitely some aspects of that you can look at and you can tell this team hasn't fully realized where it is yet, right? Comments from Billy Donovan. Elias used one of the quotes that I used yesterday in regards to preparing for the future, but also this one from Billy Donovan. Everything I've spoke to in terms of ownership and front office is they expect us to go in there and compete to try to win. And if I'm sitting on the bench, I'm going to try to make the decision that's best to help the team in that moment, in that time. I feel like that's my responsibility. And he's right. Not right. No problems with that quote from Billy Donovan at all. He's right. His job as a head coach is to go out there and coach this team and teach them winning basketball, meaning that he's supposed to do everything in his power to try to win the games that's in front of him. I say all the time, it's not players that are coaches that tank. There's not a single player out there in the NBA that's going out there trying to actively lose and make themselves look worse so that the organization can get ping pong balls. It's just that does not exist, right? Now, I do think that there are some things organizationally that you could do that show, hey, listen, you're tanking, right? Whatever it is. It's not about tanking, though. The Bulls aren't in a tank, right? The Bulls are a bad basketball team that is in the midst of a rebuild. And I think often a tank and a rebuild get conflated into the same thing when they're not. They're very, 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 very different things, right? But the problem that I have with it is that not even in regards to the tank, right? So this isn't about just winning or losing. This is about how you rebuild, right? And that's where this front office has continually failed at, right? Is that they don't understand what it really takes to go into a rebuild, right? I just want to look at, and again, these are all rumored, so not all of these I'm going to say were absolute fact that they could have happened, but I do think they're worthy of a conversation, right? Of course, we can go back to Alex Caruso, not getting the first round pick for him, not getting anything for DeMar DeRozan, but I'm not even going to focus going back that far, which that's just this past offseason, right? I'm going to focus on just this season, right? You had an opportunity to move Zach LaVine, take back some bad contracts, and get a first-round pick. Now, the Bulls' non-palate for taking back bad salaries, okay, right? But the thing is it's about assets. When you're rebuilding, you want the most assets possible because that's the most bites at the apple that give you an opportunity to find your star, right? So the Bulls who reportedly had a first-round pick offer from Josh Giddy. And again, this is not a knock on any of these players. Please do not conflate your Josh Giddy hate if you're listening to this with this conversation. Don't try to use this conversation to say, yeah, Haize, you're right. Josh Giddy sucks. Let's move. That's not what I'm saying, right? I'm saying you had an opportunity to get a first-round pick back reportedly from the Spurs for Josh Giddy. You didn't take that. Cool. They end up getting De'Aaron Fox, right? But that's one first-round pick you potentially missed out on. Now, Josh Giddy, you end up re-signing him. He ends up playing great here. It's worth more than the theoretical first-round pick. So, but I'm just, as the number of assets, you didn't get that, right? You turned down a trade for Zach LaVine that would have gotten you additional first-round picks. You ended up getting your own first-round pick back. All right, cool. We'll see where that ends up happening because it's also 2 years down the road. So we'll see where the value is, right? For example, this year the Bulls are probably going to keep their pick. But the pick was top 8 protected the next 2 years. We'll see where the Bulls sit at in that next 2 years because they're already in the bottom 8. You didn't really get anything back for Zach LaVine, right? Then, of course, Lonzo Ball. There's a reported, rumored first-round pick back for Lonzo Ball. You didn't take that back, right? there was reportedly offer early in the season for Torrey Craig as well. You ended up hurting Torrey Craig's value because you didn't play him. You ended up having to waive him anyway. You send him a nothing. Like, again, a second-round pick evaluation. I think it was multiple second-round picks, but just for the nature of this one, we're going to say a second-round pick evaluation, right? And so the non-commitment to actually rebuilding could actually hurt you. And that's what this team is. They aren't really yet committed to rebuilding. It seems like this front office is not going to be committed to rebuilding until they get a player that they feel like, all right, bet, this is worth it. Let's get off to the races. And it's interesting, right? Because it could work out, right? The Bulls, when we got Derrick Rose, we weren't a tanking or rebuilding team. We were a team that had, the season prior, came off of beating a defending champ, sweeping a defending champion, to having a disappointing season the year prior, and then we got Derrick Rose. All right, so you can get lucky. But the problem in it is that, again, much like I said with Billy Donovan and the lack of structure and how he's building up the young guys and how he's developing the young guys, the lack of structure and how you want to rebuild this team is glaring. It's evident. It's loud. And it makes it to where the point is you're hoping and relying on luck. Now, maybe, right? I'm wrong. The Bulls are doing amazing scouting into this draft, and they feel confident that who they're going to be able to get, whether they fall between number 1 to number 10, whoever they draft at, they feel confident in what they draft and how they've scouted. But the thing is, even in moving some of those other pieces, let's say that the trade for Torrey Craig, where you would have got some seconds back, right? You even gave up a second in the deal to get the protections off your first-round pick. But let's say, like, you could have moved up theoretically, right? Let's say you had that additional first-round pick later in this draft, but the guy that you want is right there. You're worried about him being taken off the board before you draft. You could have moved up and got the guy. This front office still relies so much, it's seemingly, on luck, right? And there's a factor of luck for every team. Every single team that has had success has had some luck. Luck that their players either didn't get hurt. Luck that the guy that fell to them, right? It's been a factor of luck in there somewhere, right? So I'm not saying that luck needs to be completely removed from the process of building a team. That's impossible. It's always going to be there. But the way that AK and Eversley move, it's just like, what are we doing here? What are we doing, right? And so until this front office gets serious, right? And by that, I also mean this, like, do you even have the right coach to go into a rebuild? Is Billy Donovan the right guy to develop these guys correctly? I have my doubts because of the lack of structure offensively, because of the lack of just simple basketball things that we don't do that is coaching. Not moving without the ball is on coaching. That is. It just is what it is. Rotations, that's on coaching. Not calling plays for certain players, that's on coaching, right? So, and then when you pair this, and Elias points this out in his article, which is great, the fact that Arturas even refuses to say the word rebuild, really, right? After the trade deadline in his meeting with the media, in which he talked about a play-in tournament, he even talked about the playoffs rather than just admitting. Like, no franchise is going to admit that they're tanking. I say that all the time. But franchises do have awareness that they're in the fact of that they're in the case of a rebuild. Maybe that comes this offseason, right? Maybe that comes in the offseason. But when you look at the number of opportunities that have been taken away, for example, Miles Buzelis, Ayo Dosunmu, right? These are two guys that have been playing really, really good for you. They deserve to be in the game, in late game situations, so they can learn. That's your future, right? And I know my boy Winton disagrees with calling Miles the future, but it's in the sense of it being that he is the future of the Bulls, meaning that he is one of the pieces. Hell, he's one of the few pieces that we have on contract further than 3 years out, right? So by that part, you want these guys to see what you have in these guys. You need to be developing and trying to use them in those situations. So organizationally, until everybody is all on the same page about what we're doing, how can you have success? That's the biggest question here is, how can you be successful in rebuilding? Which part of rebuilding not only means getting the right guys, but developing, creating an environment, and also fitting those guys together right in how you build the team. We have not shown proper roster construction. We've not shown the ability to develop players well at all, right? So getting the guys and getting a high draft pick is only the first step if you don't have the organizational setup to rebuild and you're prepared and you have the palate to rebuild, where do you expect yourself to go? And that's where the question lies at with the Chicago Bulls team. Where are they going? Because I tell you what, it's not clear. By their actions, by their execution, it's not clear. It's clear we're going to be bad, and it's clear that we're going to have probably a high draft pick the next couple of years, but it's not clear on what are we doing. Look at Modest. Look at Modest in the play and the way that he's used. Does that feel like a player that's being used and put in situations to grow their game? Or does that more so feel like a guy that's out there playing minutes, doing well, going off his instincts? And that's a really good thing to say, that we're looking at Modest and looking at his instincts and saying, hey, there's a basketball player in there. But what is that supported by coaching? Those are the questions that I have here, man. You got a young guy in Josh Giddy, 22 years old, right? Who has tremendous still upside left, and I don't give a shit. We got a voicemail from 8 Lives. I'm about to cook him. In regards to some of the fans' dislike over Josh Giddy for whatever reason, but when you look at the objective, if I was to show you columns of stats, right, and told you pick from column A, B, or C on which player is having the most impact since the Zach LaVine trade, I guarantee in a blind test, at least 90% of people will pick Josh Giddy. But when you see the name there, people for some reason don't want to, admit this thing. So, it is what it is when it comes down to it. We'll see how things shake out. We'll see what the future does hold. But it is Saturday, so that means it is voicemail bag day, and I got some cooking to do. Let's go ahead and get into this voicemail. The first one, this one's from 8 Lives.
What's going on, Haize? It's your boy 8 Lives, man. After this travesty that happened to our team, during All-Star break or before All-Star break or whatever, I probably thought that it probably wasn't going to be no reason to make a call in, man. But I got to call in today, man, because I cannot get with this Giddey shit, bro. I just can't, bro. I cannot, bro. I can't believe that we had Coby on the high, and all of a sudden we brought this game in. I don't even know why, bro. It's not like he Ben Simmons. I'm not saying that he's a complete bum out there. And yes, he do make plays. But this shit don't fit. Nobody is fearing our team coming in. We got Josh fucking Giddy in our starting lineup, bro. Like, no, bro. If we come back next year with Giddy, bro, we're done, bro. We could do better than this, man. We ain't got to, bro. You cannot tell me, looking at this man, he's running around like a fucking 8th grader with the ball, looking for somebody. He's running all the way to the middle of a hole and doing jump passes, bro. He got other little plays that he be doing, but, bro, no, not on this team, bro. Send him to the Wizards. Send him somewhere. Let him go. He's a free agent, please. Let Giddey go, AK, bro. Nobody is feeling that style of basketball. That shit might have worked in the Olympics, women's team. He got his little fan. Let him and his fans go somewhere else. This is not winning basketball. Starting these players with Josh Giddy, it is disrespectful to Ayo. It's disrespectful to Coby. For real, I don't care about no deficiency rating and all this shit. People talking about with Coby and all that. Come on, man. Be real. Like, this have fucked our chemistry up. Even when Zach says, you can just look at the other players sometimes with Giddey at the ball and he just be running around. They just be looking at him like, bro, what are you doing? Yeah, he hit the bucket sometimes. But that Bill Cartwright looking three, like, come on, man. I'm sorry, bro. I'm not with the Giddey shit. It's like we get down on all the other players, but for some reason, we keep dancing around this dude. And this ain't winning basketball playing with Giddey. I don't care about no numbers, no analytics, or none of that. Get him off the team, bro. Please. AK, get him out of here, bro. It's still C-Red, and I still cheer for him and all that. I want to see him make good plays, but don't bring Giddey back next year. This is worse than Pat Beverly, bro. Like, this is just, come on, man. This has got to be a joke, man, that we actually contemplate who is going to beat Coby and Giddey. Man, come on, man. Fuck out of it.
Here's the thing, right? And there are absolutely things that with Josh Giddey's game that are negatives and flaws, right? You could say you can't get with it, but 8 Lives, you can't even call into, and this is all love, by the way, you can't even call into the show without hiding from your girl because she thinks you think she's gonna fuss at you about being too ingrained in the Chicago Bulls. Hey, you got to come with more than that. You got to come with more than I'm just off this Giddey stuff. I don't care about stats, none of it. So if you don't care about none of that, then you can't have a fully formed argument on it or conversation on it. You can not like Josh Giddy for the way that he plays, lack of playing defense, right? That's perfectly fine. But to say all these things like nobody's going to look at Josh Giddy and put fear in hearts. No, I tell you what, breaking news. Nobody's looking at any player on this Bulls team and no fears being put on any hearts of anybody's team. Nobody's looking at this Bulls team like, oh my God, we're playing the Bulls today. Let's hope that Coby doesn't. Let's hope that no. We have some damn good, solid players on this team. But you talking about putting fear in hearts? Come on, man. When are you looking at this? Like, yes, the acquisition of Josh Giddy did hurt Coby White's development. I can adamantly say that. But two things can be true at the same time. You can still objectively look at Josh Giddy's game and also talk about how he's hurt the development of Coby White. But to say that, we just need, and that's, you know what? Everybody who always says these young players, you need to just let them walk, it's stupid. It's never going to happen. I'm not saying 8 Lives is stupid, but it's never going to happen. Teams very rarely, for players that are actually showing some monochrome of production, let go of players the young age and just let them walk away for nothing. Now, I do think that there needs to be structure in what type of deal that you offer Josh Giddy. Absolutely. Right? The $30 million, he's not shown that to be, and unlike some Josh Giddy stands, no, there's no team that's going to pay Josh Giddy $30 million. If you think that, you're too far gone into your standship. But if you also are I don't like the way if you're just in that part too, you're too far in your Josh Giddy hate. Josh Giddy is a young player that is still developing, still has a lot of development left to go. Hell, Coby wasn't really good until his 5th year in the league, right? Like, I mean, he showed some flashes, absolutely, but you look at that, and then it's still been inconsistent from that. I'm not trying to compare the two very different players, but this thought process of not being able to objectively talk about things, it has to stop. It just has to stop, right? The blind hate, and again, this is coming from somebody who calls Javon Carter the ball-headed hoe. But guess what? When Javon Carter was cooking that one game in which he basically kept the Bulls in the game with the play that he had in the first half, I absolutely can honestly review it and say, listen, Javon Carter balled in the first half of this game. People lose so much sight of objectivity because they want to be right. And I've always said it's the weirdest thing in sports to me when people want to see somebody fail just so they can be right about something. That's silly to me. It's stupid. But, it is what it is. We got another voicemail from here. And again, this isn't a shot at 8 Lives. I knew through the shot about the phone thing. That's just because me and 8 Lives, he's been a supporter of this channel basically since it started. But it's just the thought process of, if we're going to knock somebody, let's have a more structured conversation than I don't like them. That's basically what I don't like them. We can't do it. We got to let them walk. Okay, why? What are the reasons? Give me the things that support it other than just calling in and complaining. That's just what I'm saying. All right, let's get into the next voicemail, man. This one's from Larry.
What up, Haize? Yeah, just looking at it, we're after the trade deadline, we got everything going. This is Larry out of Mobile, by the way. We got a positive. Regardless of what happens, we're going to have people that are going to be able to distribute the ball that are primary point guards going into next year. And I think that's going to be important for development going next year. We're going to need somebody that's, our job is to try to get the players into the right positions, organize the offense. That's going to be important for development, regardless of who we get. And we're going to have options whether Giddey's number is crazy or they try to trade one of them, Lonzo or Coby. But I look at that as a positive. And I think that we got a lot of options, a lot of good options going forward as far as what we can do. So hopefully we get lucky in the draft. But if not, we get a solid player out of this draft that a solid point guard is going to be able to distribute them the ball, even on a losing team. That's going to be important, because if you can't get them the ball, how are they going to have a chance to develop if they're trying to do something that they're not capable of yet? But I just look at that as a positive going into next season, regardless of how it plays out. I don't know if that was by design by the team or it just kind of what happened. But appreciate it, Haize.
Organize the offense is a great way, because we don't have any organization of the offense, right? And so you have to question of how are players going to grow in an offense that is not structured and not organized. We can have all the guards in the world, right? But that doesn't really mean very much if you're not actually running a structure. Like I said, there's a better coach that can find ways to use Josh Giddy's playmaking and his ability on ball, and also pair that with Coby White, making sure Coby gets enough opportunities to be on ball, to use his driving and things like that to create. There's a coach that can come up with a system to make those two things work. But rather than that, we turn Coby White into a jump shooter And that's never been his game. He's never been that type of player to be just a jump shooter. I'm just about to just shoot threes all day long. That's never been Kobe's game. That's why always when people used to be like, well, Kobe's Ben Gordon, it's like, no, the fuck he isn't. He's not anything remotely close to Ben Gordon. They're very, very different players. And by close, I mean as far as the style of play. Not to get into who's better or not. I'm not even going to get into that argument. But we have to have organization, right? And we don't have an organized offense. Right now, we got an offense that is relying on hope that the three ball is going to fall and hope that we're going to be able to outpace the other teams. That's what we're hoping for. We got to get better than that. And let's hope that we can at some point. Thank you for the voicemail, Larry. Let's get into this next one. This one's from TJ.
Yo, what's up, Haize? It's TJ from the low end. Man, I got a question for you. I know I'm probably jumping into the future about 3 years, but I know that the expansion is supposed to be happening in 2028, I believe. I was wondering, how do you think the expansion would, affect the Bulls? Like, how would that directly affect the Bulls in our situation? Where do you think the team would be by 2028, just from what we see now and how you would project the team, improve and stuff or change over the years? I was also wondering if you could explain how does the expansion process work. Like, I don't know how that works. Last time an expansion happened, I wasn't even alive yet. I was legit at most. But yeah, that's it, man. T-Red Nation. Peace.
TJ, with all due respect, my nigga, how the hell do you ask me about 2028 and how things going to affect you? We don't even know who's going to be on the team. All due respect, and I mean that jokingly. But all jokes aside, I have no idea how it's going to impact the Bulls. The Bulls right now currently have 2 players under contract in 2028. So how is it going to affect us? I have no idea. I have none, right? Because we don't know who's going to be on the team. Now, how expansion drafts work is that you have a number of players that you can protect, right? And then the other players that you can't protect, they're up in an expansion draft when the team is going through the draft selection and they can choose to pluck a player from your team. Now, I think with the Bulls only having 2 players under contract, they're probably going to be able to protect most of their core players. Even if we hit on their next 3 draft picks, we're going to be able to protect those guys. So I'm not really too worried about it. A player that I would be, if Io signs an extension here, depending on how things go, if he's not protected, I'd worry about an expansion team picking Io, mainly because of the versatility that he brings and how you build your lineups. But other than that, right now, it's just really difficult to say, all jokes aside, right? 2 players under contract in 2028. So we'll see how that goes, but there will be an expansion draft. There will be a number of players that you can protect, and then we'll see what happens with that going forward. But as we get closer and closer to that, of course, I'll cover it a little bit more, TJ. Thank you for the voicemail. Let's get into this next one, man. This one's from Jeremy.
What's up, Haize? It's Jeremy. You're more down here in Oklahoma. Been a minute, but just wanted to chime in on a couple of things. After one thing that stood out that just really pissed me off was after Mattis and the dunk contest, I just saw a lot of ignorant haters out there, Oh, look at Mattis, let us down, just like the Bulls. He's a kid. So give me a damn break. I know one thing about his work ethic is this is just going to make him work harder. It's going to fuel him. I believe in the kid. So I just thought that was pretty pathetic, to dog out a young man that, out there with a whack-ass ball for one. It's a big stage. I'm sure he was disappointed, but it's going to make him work that much harder. So, good job. Great shows. We're kind of in limbo here, just waiting. Hopefully we'll figure out what's going on between Giddey, AO, Coby. I'm definitely on the keep AO train. I think AO is just a piece that fits no matter what. Like you said, his hustle, his speed, the way he gets downhill. Don't know what Giddey yet. I do love Coby, but just inconsistent year after year, killing me. Love your show. See red, and I will catch you later. Peace.
Listen, fans down on Modest Buzelis after dunk contest. It just again shows the tone deafness of the fan base at times, and how sometimes the fan base just wants to complain. I mean that lovingly. Like, there are so many people, and I see it in the comment section every day, that just want to complain, right? And it's like, I get it. Like, the team is in a bad spot, and there are legitimate criticisms, but sometimes we project that on things that don't really have to do with the actual complaint, right? And I think the Modest dunk contest one was one of the, he didn't have a good showing. It wasn't a good showing, but I do think that he can be much better in that going forward. Now, as far as the Bulls being in limbo, we are. And that's kind of in my opening topic. We are very much a franchise that's in limbo right now because we're not fully committed to doing shit. We're still trying to wait and see. and we'll see what happens. Now, I agree with you. I'm all for keeping Ayo Dosunmu. I think Ayo is the type of player that, and I know I've said this ad nauseum, but he's the type of player that it doesn't matter what and how your team is built, he can fit in. He's shown himself to be the player that can fit into just about any type of scheme, any type of system, any type of makeup of roster, because he's just that type of player. So, yeah, I love the idea of keeping Ayo long term, and I hope that we do. All right, let's get into the last voicemail for today. This one's from Corn.
Hey, Haize. You know, I had a bunch of talking points loaded, but, you know, forget about that. Because I'm just actually looking forward to watching the game tomorrow, which would be Thursday. But I did want to say, as I've been following your content, you know, from before the trade deadline until today, of course. And shout out for awesome reporting, awesome insight. I also wanted to leave a compliment for you and Pat the Designer on Lockdown Bulls. I've been watching that a lot as well. And a couple weeks ago, you had C-Dove come in and, you know, take over a little bit. I think it was a pregame. I forget who they were playing. And I got to tell you, man, he is pure joy. I really enjoy listening to him. Anyway, have a great day. Looking forward to mailbag on Saturday and Sunday. Loving what your fans are saying, and agree with a lot of it. So anyway, talk with you later. Thanks a lot. And once again,
listen, I thank you, Corn, for being one of the biggest supporters here. Steve-O's amazing. I love working with Pat the Designer. I love having a team, right? C-Dub, Bobby, when these guys have to step in, the fact that, you know, us at Chi-Town Sports, the network, we've actually built something legitimate here, and we're not done yet. Like, that's a great thing, and we hope to continue to provide the coverage that we've been providing for 3 years now, at the level that we've been able to do it with. And as long as God's blessing me with the ability to cover my team, I'm going to cover my teams. That just is what it is, man. And, you know, I don't take it lightly how much the show has grown over 3 years at all. And all I can say is we're not done yet. But one thing that is done is this show. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys are following us at Bull Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that's thanks to you lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See red if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.